about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs to the phone, dreaming of a better home, we want focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the Bluez let this last. I don't know if the earth is painted blue.
That was the great sounds of Watson with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ Bluez is in the building. Easy. Who do we have us with today on Behind the Brand?
Let me just say how super excited I am about this. This is by far one of my favorite human beings in the world. I say that a lot. I have a lot of really favorite human beings, I'll be honest.
It's a big list.
But honestly,
he knows a lot of people.
I know people. I know two, three people. But what's absolutely incredible is when I first came to New Haven, and I was stumbling through trying to understand what it was like to be an acoustic singer-songwriter.
Right.
I didn't realize that there was a blueprint that was already there, and a genuine blueprint. And, you know, it was absolutely incredible. And that I want to thank radio show host or co-host, depending on who you talk to. Absolutely phenomenal singer-songwriter, incredible bartender, and the head philosopher for the Tuesday Cafe 9 happy hours of the local drunkards.
Gotcha.
Mr. Frank Critelli. Brother, thank you so much for being here and taking time to hang out with us.
Buddy, thank you. And two things about your introduction. When I got to New Haven, the same exact thing happened to me. And the blueprint was already written by James Velvet. I did everything that guy did. And you know, he set the blueprint. So for me, singer-songwriter started with that guy, you know. And I didn't know you were from Long Island. I grew up in Levittown.
No way.
Yeah.
No, I was in an amalgamate group called Suck It Easy. That's where the name Easy came from. And we were based out of Farmingdale. So I spent a lot of time.
Oh, no kidding.
In the town. Oh, yeah.
My buddy Patrick lives in Farmingdale.
That's amazing. That is absolutely incredible. Wow, man. Oh, the parallels are amazing. Absolutely.
Just like it.
It's a small world.
It really is. And like so small. In fact, you know, it's amazing that I actually have the opportunity to work at a studio where you have recorded some phenomenal music, and working with a guest that we had on a couple weeks ago, Vic Steffens.
Yeah, who just had a birthday recently. That guy's a stalwart. He's recorded so much good music in this state. It's mind-boggling, you know. He's done a lot of really great things, and he represents Connecticut music very well in some pretty big ponds, you know, and that's great.
And that's actually kind of the comparison I wanted to drag, because you also are phenomenal at putting together these great shows or these great show ideas that really does support and highlight Connecticut music and Connecticut singer-songwriters, which for a while, especially out on this scene, you know, jam bands started to rise up. There was a good kind of like alternative scene at one point, and people would shy away from the singer-songwriter. And while that was happening, you were putting together these shows at the old church, or putting together these pass the guitar type shows that obviously we can't do now without a ton of sanitizer and hazmat suits. I think that's the next one, right?
I think so. Yeah. I already have a pair of those little booties. Those are cool, you know.
I'm actually not surprised. I do have a pair of those little booties, but I got them in the army.
Nice.
So what makes it you want to, like, you are another person who came from Long Island. You came to New Haven. You came here as per a job, or you came here to discover yourself artistically?
I came here by a circuitous route. You know, I actually came to go to school. You know,
right?
Where did you just felt I did a master's program in teaching at Quinnipiac College. Before it was Quinnipiac University. Most of the buildings there now were piles of dirt while I was there. But I was there in the early 90s and it was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you actually went on and became a teacher, correct?
I taught English in the Meriden Public Schools for 20 years. Yeah.
You know, I see a lot of comparison. I see a lot of people, like, for example, our very good friend, Charles Council, Mr. Council. He's also a teacher, a phenomenal R&B singer. So there is this kind of aspect where you see a lot of creatives go into the educational aspect. Did you feel a pull to do that from a creative point of view? Or was it like, hey, I just need to make sure that I can eat while I make my art?
Well, it seemed like a cool job, you know, like, to be honest, I never really wanted to have a job. You know, I always imagined that, you know, music would be the job. If you asked me when I was 21, where I'd be at 54, you know, the answer would be very different than the reality. You know what I mean? But you know, I went to school, I guess maybe to hedge my bets a little bit, but also education was a cool thing because you got to perform for people, basically, you know, and I was an English teacher. So it dealt with poetry and literature. And that's what kind of turned me on to music in the first place, I guess, you know. I always came at it from sort of like a lyrical angle. So the two were very connected for me. And it was a great job for a really long time until it wasn't a great job anymore, you know?
Right. And it's interesting that you say, if you asked a 21-year-old person, you know, the 21-year-old you know, where you would be at 54 and what the reality is, you know, I do kind of find, because I find myself asking that question of the 21-year-old version of myself and now the soon to be 43-year-old version of myself. When I really start to break it down, though, I am living the exact life, maybe just not on the scale I initially thought of at 21. Do you also see, because I mean, this is who you are. You are a musician. You've hit every single aspect of it, and this is what you do now, you know, to make sure that you can eat, which that unto itself is a victory. I don't know how many struggling musicians out there are eating ramen every single day, but I mean, look behind, like this is the shot behind you is like the pinnacle of every single, to me, successful singer-songwriter. You got the old school, you know, right? You know, and that's kind of like where I see, like, if you go back and you look at like interviews, say with Dylan or something like that, that's the setting you're going to see. And this is you organically.
This is my house, you know.
Yeah.
I live here.
I hope so. I mean, it'd be a totally different interview if it was your neighbor's house, and all of a sudden we'd get in trouble for that. You know, I've been trying to stay out of trouble as much as possible. It's tough, man. It's tough, especially, you know, some people would consider some of your stuff like I like to call it kind of outlaw, or like you just had an incredible write-up in a punk rock magazine, even though some people will say, oh, well, he's a singer-songwriter and there's no real punk rock there. No, I mean, that's as punk rock as it gets, you know?
Well, you know, like, well, you can listen to Jeffrey Thunders, and when Jeffrey Thunders does something acoustically, solo acoustic, you still call it punk rock.
Right.
Why is that, you know? And we had it in the conversation, you know, punk is doing what you want to do without asking any permission or any forgiveness, you know? And that's what, on this level of, you know, this music industry, I guess, if you want to call it an industry, you know, on the music thing, we're all punk rock because we all do exactly what we want to do, you know?
Right.
And that's been a lot of fun. You're right. And we are, even though maybe we didn't make a ton of money at it, or we're not on the cover of Rolling Stone, you know, we do our thing, and, you know, we're lucky enough to have been, I guess, blessed with, you know, the gift of songs, you know.
Amen.
Like, isn't it happy? Like, aren't you happy when you write a song? Like, you know, when you create something, and I'm sure that's, you know, that goes for people who, you know, build things or something like that. Like, you're satisfied with your work, and we all want to be satisfied with who we are and what we do, you know? So music for me has been, and you, and, you know, that guy over there and 10,000 other people that we know has been a very satisfying endeavor, you know?
Completely. Absolutely. Completely. It's very, very interesting because, you know, a lot of people, they have a weird understanding of what success is. And we've talked about it when we had Lydia on, and we've had a lot of hip hop acts on here. You know, people are like, you know, I want to go out and I want to release a record and it's going to be fantastic. And then I'm just going to be rich. I'm going to be famous. And there's so much work. And that's one of the reasons why we have this show, is to, you know, this is the time to peel that layer back, you know, and truly understand what goes on. And this is probably the point in time where I will tell our guests, our people listening while they're driving, because, you know, they're trying to get their lunch hour in. You know, this is time to pull over to the side of the road, take out that pen and a piece of paper, and this is the notes. You know, this is the important stuff. You know, how important is it, you know, not just the writing aspect, but in the delivery and in the promotion? Like, for example, you have this new project that is just out, The Bargain, by the way, phenomenal. Now, yes, there's a whole process of the writing of the record, but now you're into the marketing and the promotional aspect of the record, which for a lot of people that don't understand, that's really where a lot of the work and the true exhausting stuff is, especially for creative types, unless you can find a really fun and creative way to do it. This is the punch clock that we try so hard to get away from by being creative, but this is just as important. How do you deal with, because you have a very open and alive personality, how do you deal with the number and the ones and the zeros that is promotion, especially digital promotion in the time of COVID?
I guess you just make it up as you go along. You know, that's a part of the job description. Obviously, you want part of creating art, and it's great if you just sit on the edge of your bed and you create your art and you sing it into a tape recorder and you have, you know, the tapes in your room and no one ever sees them. Emily Dickinson did that for years. But for some of us, you know, we want to complete the sort of communication circuit here and deliver that message to somebody else and get feedback. You know what I mean? Like, we like when people clap.
Oh, love it.
Like, that's the feedback, you know what I mean? Or say, hey, I bought your record. It's really great. You know, we listened to it in the kitchen. Oh, that's wonderful. You know, thank you for listening and for enjoying it, because that makes me feel good about who I am and what I do and, you know, and my life, you know? So the promotion part of it, you know, none of us ever really wanted to be promoters. You know, we just wanted to be songwriters and artists and that type and performers, you know? So the marketing part is an unfortunate addition to our job description, which is writing songs and singing them for the nice people, you know? So I try to be as matter of fact about it as possible. I'm playing here, period. You know what I mean? Or, hey, we have a new record out and here it is, period. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's nice to let people know that the stuff is there and they can access it if they like, you know, if they want to, you know? And that's part of the deal. So we do that, but we try to be as matter of fact about it as possible. I don't do the hard sell, you know what I mean? And I'm uncomfortable when other people try to hard sell me, you know what I mean? Like, this is the greatest show ever, bum, 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 you know, like that makes me feel like, oh my goodness, you know, just tell me what it is. And, you know, if it looks interesting, it's got a nice cover or, you know, I hear a snippet online or something like that. You know, we all do our research and we click on things in our news feeds, you know what I mean? So you throw it up there. And if someone sees it and they go, oh, I'll click on that, you know what I mean? And then they see your art, and that's how we got to do it these days.
Exactly.
You know, so I guess we do, as far as the promotion stuff, we do what we got to do, you know?
No, that's fair.
Frank, I got something to ask you. How much hard sell did you get with the local band show?
How much what?
Hard sell did people give you when you were doing the local band show? How many people wanted to get on?
Well, you know, I guess radio to a certain extent has become less important to some people, especially maybe young people, you know what I mean? So sometimes we have to accost them in order to have them send their music in, you know? We might, once again, on our news feeds, see a local band or hear it on Rob DeRosa's show or, you know, CT Rocks or any other, you know, avenue of local music. We hear it on somebody else's show and we look it up and we listen to it and we're like, hey, man, how come we don't have their music, you know? So we'll write them a note or something. Or somebody will send it in, you know? Nobody really does the hard sell. I think I think local bands are appreciative of the validation of 50,000 watts.
Mm-hmm.
50,000. It's the biggest rock station in Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
and it was always a thrill for me to hear my stuff on the local band show. So I know how it feels. Like everybody says, like Tom Hearn from Big Fat Combo says,
right.
Everybody says when they hear themselves on the local band show in the car radio for the first time, they pull over and listen. He goes, I didn't listen. I didn't pull over. I floored it. You know what I mean? And that's how I felt, like it's exciting to hear your music on local radio, And so people are appreciative of that. And the messages we get are, hey guys, thanks for what you do. Here's my song. Please consider it for airplay or something like that, And that's most of the messages we get. So, people have been very nice to us.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
And
yeah, it's fun too, And there's so much great music coming out of Connecticut forever, and we get to be a part of that and turn people onto it, hopefully. And that's a good thing, I think.
No, it really is. And I have to say from the artist point of view as well, it really is absolutely one of the coolest moments. Like when that happens, I remember even doing the solo EP, and was able to send you the single from there. And the moment where you see, because you do this incredible post where you're like, hey, coming up on Sunday, and you handwrite and you put this there's artistry in the actual color aspect of it, and
it's all in the Sharpie. It's all in the Sharpie,
man. But also you make sure that the promo is there as well, not just for the show, but for your sponsors for the show. It's even on that piece of paper, and you take that a photo of that and you put it up online. And it is such an incredible feeling to scroll through your Facebook page and say, oh man, this Sunday, I got to make sure I'm home at 9:30 to make sure I catch the local show at 10 o'clock because oh my gosh, my song is going to be on the radio and this is going to be awesome. It's so thank you for that, because it is such a incredible feeling. Like being someone who transplanted from Long Island to here, there were things I needed to check off on the box. Playing Cafe 9, playing Stella Blues, making sure that
I also forgot to check the box because you're on WNHH LP 103.5 FM behind the rear. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made Easy Blues in the building. We got Frank Critelli on behind the brand. Easy, continue.
Making sure that you check those incredible boxes, playing the Make Music Day, New Haven, making sure that you have a song on the local show, and then from that song on the local show, then all of a sudden you get there and now Robbie DeRosa is blowing up your phone. Hey, I need a physical copy. Like physical copy. This is 2020. We don't do physical copies. Or the album's not even
gotten a lot better.
The album's not even finished recording yet.
Well, just as an example of making Rob DeRosa an example, it's nice when people are excited to hear your stuff.
Completely.
I love getting messages that say, "Hey, man, is that a new song you got out? Please send it over here." Or that's a great message to get when somebody wants to play your stuff.
That's awesome. And it's absolutely incredible, and it's such a great feeling. Or knowing that you are putting, like, I remember I actually had the incredible experience to be on site when you guys had Vic on the show, and you were talking about putting together this incredible 4-man singer-songwriter showcase, and you had these amazing. Almost I will say very genuine personalities. You had good friend, good brother Ethan James was on there.
Oh man,
are
you talking about the Next Door show?
Yes.
Holy cow! That just came up in my my memories on Facebook. What a great thing that was, man. Those guys are amazing. And to see like different singer-songwriters interact, like people who haven't met each other and yet somehow draw from the same well, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And to see them interact and play songs and be challenged and inspired by each other really lit me up. You know what I mean? And the pizza was fantastic at Next Door. You know,
Mhm.
Robin was an absolute queen.
Right.
And it was wonderful to work with them. And I miss that joint a lot. And I wish we were still doing music there.
Frank, you did showcases?
You know, I don't know if showcases is the right word, you know. I book music series. So like right now I'm lucky to host the Old Church Acoustic Series.
Gotcha.
The Old Church Acoustic Series is in Meriden, Connecticut.
Okay.
And when a guy named Mike Wilcox, he started it in Rocky Hill.
Yeah.
And he had it for a few years, and he hosted singer-songwriters there monthly, like an old school church coffee house. Ran September to May, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like a real, you know, church coffee house sort of schedule, you know. We used to do 1 million of them when I lived in Cambridge as a younger guy. So he started it, and then David Cooley took it over and brought it to Meriden, Connecticut when Mike Wilcox got ill and eventually passed away.
Right.
I'm lucky enough to host it and book the music for it.
Right.
So that's where I'm booking music right now, you know. And I just was putting singers-songwriters at WPAA in Wallingford, the television station over there. They have a music series that's called the Fire Escape Sessions, you know. So I got to book 2 singer-songwriters every week for, you know, a 6-week stretch, you know, and put those guys in there, you know. So I love perpetuating the madness, you know, and providing opportunities for people to share their songs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I was always really appreciative to the guys who gave me an opportunity to sing my songs. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they said, "Oh yeah, you know, we'll have you over here. Like, yeah, you can play over here, or you can open up for that person, or blah blah blah." You know. So to be able to do that now is a really cool thing. So the answer to that question is yes.
I think Easy and myself to ask you for some showcase advice because we hosted a couple shows pre-coronavirus, and it was very exciting. It was fun, and it was also very stressful at the same time too.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, I just had this conversation. You're the host of the party. You're the host of the party. You know,
Absolutely.
and it's like, you know, you make 7 pounds of, you know, chip dip, and you're hoping people show up. You know what I mean? You're like, what the heck am I going to do with all this chip dip if nobody shows? You know, I can make some weird onion soup out of it or something. You know. But yeah, it is stressful. You know, because you want everything to go well. You want the sound to be good. You want people to show. You want people to, you know, have a good time while they're there.
Yeah, I think our problem when we hosted a couple shows, Frank, was people getting the music in late because everything's electronic now, and there was a lot of egos.
Well,
imagine egos is a whole different job.
Well, my here's a secret. You ready?
Yeah.
It won't be a secret after this. My rule is you get 1 strike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like don't piss me off. You know what I mean? Be cool. We're talking about music here. It's not a big deal. Like, you know, there's no music emergencies. Right. If we start 15 minutes late, everything is going to be okay.
Right.
But let's not start a half an hour late because we do have some nice people here who came to see you. You know what I mean? You be cool with me and I'll be cool with you and everything will be fine. You know what I mean? If you have that conversation on the onset, you know, with somebody that you haven't worked with in the past, you know, then everything will be okay. And most people you'll find, I think, are very nice. Even the people who deserve to have an ego, you know, are surprisingly nice most of the time, you know.
That is true.
No, it is, and it's funny because that's kind of where we wound up. Is, you know, we started to plan for what was supposed to be 2020. We started to have a lot more of these conversations like, hey, you're going to do this and this is what it's going to be. So I'm going to need you to get, you know, for like, say, hip hop, I'm going to need you to get the DJ, the backing tracks a week before. Yeah. If you can't do that, let me know right now. No hard feelings. We're just going to move forward, you know? And I found it's a lot easier. You know, people are like, oh, I'll make sure I got you. And they start to space with you. They're like, hey, you know, I'm going to be like 2 hours late with that. Is that cool? I'm like,
well, because they want a good show too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nobody wants to lay a brick in public. You know, that's the thing.
Yeah. No, definitely. Now, from all the places that you've played, what would you say is your favorite venue?
Well, locally, I guess my favorite venue is Cafe Nine. It
Mm-hmm.
always, pretty much always has been. It's been an iconic room in the city of New Haven for a really long time. And everybody has got a Cafe Nine story.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. And I just think that it's a place that brings people together. It's a diverse room. It's a fun room, and it's a classic. And so much music like just sort of soaks into the walls. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You feel it when you're in there. It's like playing. If you've ever played on stage at Toad's place, it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're like, Dylan stood here.
Right.
Mick Jagger stood here.
Mm-hmm.
And at Cafe Nine, you feel the same way. Pine Top Perkins sat
Mm-hmm.
right here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just like amazing classic people play there, and that's it. That's the room.
I have to 100% agree with you, and it's funny because like I have several Cafe Nine moments because I'm insane, but one of my favorite Cafe Nine moments actually involves you. At one point in time, Fiction, a band that I know how much you love, love them, love how much you love Ethan. Fiction was scheduled to play a show, and and Ethan had to be in Texas. So instead of canceling the show, they reached out to other like singers and be like, "Hey, can you come in and do the fiction? Do the fiction."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Sure, why not? It's fun." People confuse us on a regular basis. We're both bearded. We both have like powerful, like I'm a yell at you type of voices. So it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. And then I walk in and I see you behind the bar, and I know how much you love and respect Ethan. And I'm like, "All right, pressure's on now." I gotta
don't screw it up.
I gotta deliver now. And I knew it was okay when you stopped serving someone, you crossed your arms and you nodded your head. I got to see that from there. I was like, okay, this is gonna be a good set then. We're good to go. Keep doing what we're doing, guys. We're on point. So thank you for that moment.
Well, you got it. Anybody that works in the service industry says, when they have to listen to all the music. I have to hear all the music while I'm working. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Sometimes it's a pain in the neck, and sometimes it's really great. You know what I mean? So I'm really appreciative of the really great moments. And seeing that show was one of the great moments. Yeah, there's no doubt.
Thank you. Really, really appreciate
it. You got it,
buddy. Now you do these incredible kind of show. I'll stay away from this showcase. I'll say highlight shows where there have been like Billy Joel shows. There was now there's a Johnny Cash one that's going on or already happened.
Well, today is Johnny Cash's birthday, and I think Nathaniel Hintz was doing something online,
right.
Probably, possibly via the Cafe 9 site.
Right.
But that guy is absolute audiophile when it comes to great music. He knows everything about Johnny Cash. Listening to Nathaniel Hintz play Johnny Cash is like a history lesson because he knows every note and he knows every player on every session and who was in the room and what date it happened and everything else. So yeah, definitely look for that. It's probably on the Cafe 9 site. I'm sure that you can watch it after the fact too. Right. In this on-demand culture we have.
That's awesome. And for a bit you were also doing kind of like a quarantine shows on Sunday at Cafe 9. I know you had Fiction on at one point.
We did a couple, yeah. We did like a virtual. I did a virtual Tuesday happy hour, for my intelligent modern drunkards. The cabal of, the think tank of intelligence that hang out in Tuesday afternoons at Cafe 9. We did something for them, and we did a couple of things for the Sunday Buzz. But that was early on in the pandemic. Right. We haven't done one for a while now.
Is it something that you're thinking about getting back into, or are you waiting for standards to be a little bit more relaxed so that we can go back to at least life somewhat normal?
I've been talking to Paul about a couple of things, but nothing has been set in stone yet. I know DW Diddy just did a live happy hour from Cafe 9. Right. And a couple of other people, because you can rent Cafe 9 as a rehearsal space. So some people have been live feeding their rehearsals, which I think is really cool, you know.
Smart move.
Yeah. Well, you know, just to keep the music alive, you know what I mean? People still want to hear, you know, they want to hear it, you know. Like I miss DW Diddy. You know, I used to like he played Happy Hour, you know, the weekly wind down at Cafe 9. He played Happy Hour all the time. And he's great, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I forget the sax player's name, but that guy's great too, you know.
Well, no, it's so true, because we actually had the ability to practice at Cafe 9, and the energy in the room, and you know, knowing that at one point in time, you know, your bass player could go sit at a table to make sure you're maintaining your 6 feet distance, you know, while your drummer is the only one on stage, and you know, I'm sitting at the bar. It's almost gave us that that more than words type of feeling from that incredible video, where we're all kind of broken apart but still together, and the energy of that room is so palpable even when there's no one there. When there's no one there, and I say, you know, Cafe 9 to me is a different type of venue, because unlike other bars where you're just kind of the soundtrack for people drinking, Cafe 9 has the culture where people are there to listen, and they just have an or two while they're listening. So
you mentioned the energy in the room. I have been there at 3:30 in the morning when I'm the only one in the room, and it's still there. In fact, you can feel it even more. You know what I mean? It's like it awakens itself when everybody leaves the room. It's like, you know, the company's gone. Now I can really be myself, you know?
Indescribable.
Yeah.
That's the time it's when I takes his pants off.
That's a good, well, you know.
So Frank, I hear you were a bartender. Tell me about that. What's your favorite drink to make?
I'm not a bartender like some people are a bartender. I pour beer and do dishes.
Okay,
you know, that's what I do. You know, but I do pour a very nice beer. I've been told. You know,
it's true.
Some people can't, man. I worked at a bar, man. Some people can't, man. It was too much foam, little beverage. So it's a skill. It really is. A lot of people don't know that.
You want enough head, but not too much head. You know,
not crazy enough.
Yeah. It's an overstimulation thing. You got to be careful.
Well, also I have to say, pours an incredible shot of Jameson as well. I know that's experience.
Yeah. You know, somebody busted my chops once.
They did.
They looked at the shot. And they're like, "Hey, put a little more." You know, like I'm like, "Hey, ho." I'm like, the only one who complains about my pours is the owner.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? How dare you?
That's amazing. So you have this new project, The Bargain, and I absolutely
thank you for asking.
I've got you. No problem. It's covered.
Yeah, no, it's
Well, what I was going to say is I love the promo because, like you said, you're very direct about it, and I think it's incredible the promo where you just say, "Hey, this band was started because of," and I'm going to let you tell the story from this point on.
It's a totally true story. Muddy River showed up at my house with a sandwich, a bottle of whiskey, and a guitar. And we wrote 2 songs that night. And then we made it a weekly thing. And then Shandy Lawson came over, and you know, we wrote more songs. And we just decided that, we're gonna explore this as far as it'll go. You know, so we made a bargain with the devil and ourselves that we would write down, record, and perform the songs that occurred to us during the seance of the kitchen table. And we've been doing it just about twice a week for a good long time now, you know. So we set the lightning rods up, you know, we have some food, we have some brotherhood, and we play music, you know. And it's been one of the great joys of my life to write songs and spend time with these fellas.
It's amazing. That's awesome. Really. Honestly, that's such a great feel-good story, and it's incredible to still hear that stuff is possible, especially after a year of being so disconnected from everyone. The fact that you have this incredible story about connecting truly, and for those who understand what it's like to co-write with someone, you really know them intimately, more intimately than you can really know anyone else. And you really have that, and you can hear it in the record, just this incredible interplay between you guys. And I remember one of the first videos that you guys did, all in masks. It was very surreal, but it was very real. It was surreal in its realness, if that makes any sense at all.
It totally does.
Yeah. And it really hits you like, oh, wow, there is hope. You know, there is going to be a next day. And in the darkness that was 2020, that is so important to understand. And there's even sometimes I'll still scroll back through your feed and just kind of remind myself sometimes like, hey, there is hope. There is another side to this, you know, and thank you for that, because that means a lot, you know.
Well, you know, everybody started doing it, you know. Before the pandemic, I would never have dreamed of pointing a camera at myself. You know, it just seemed like a stupid thing to do, you know. I don't know. I didn't take selfies, you know, like I saw other people do it and I thought it was goofy, you know. But then, you know, my girlfriend Diane convinced me, like, you know, no, this is how you got to do it now. You know what I mean? Like, people want to hear from you. People want to see a show. You know what I mean? So I tried it out. You know what I mean? And I felt like it worked. And then a week later, I got the validation of, you know, a couple of hundred hits, a couple of hundred views, and people commented and gave you the thumbs up. And that seemed to me the same as applause. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm like, look at that. Like, I started to look at it as a different way. You know what I mean? And then everybody started doing it. And it was wonderful, you know, to see so much different music, and so much different music you would not have been exposed to otherwise. You know, during this earlier in the pandemic, I was part of this group that said, like, you know, I don't know, pandemic shows, and they would just host the video for a bunch of different people from all over the country, you know. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing this guy sitting in his living room in Ohio, who I would never have seen ever in my entire life, playing a beautiful song, you know. And I'm like, wow, you know, not only do I get to be exposed to something brand new from someone, a stranger, I would, you know, a guy doing the same thing we're all doing, just over there where we can't see it, you know. And I felt really connected with people I never even met before, you know, and I knew what their living rooms looked like, you know, like we were tight, you know. It was almost like being at their house, and they were singing for me in their kitchen, you know. And I just thought it was great. So we
like
did
we're at your house on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Bluez is in the building. Frank, I love your story. Tell me about it on Behind the Brand. Continue.
Well, you know, and yeah, that was it. I think I was done. Period.
But it's so true, and honestly, I do feel, because I remember your also your digital happy hour. You have this incredible personality to do something like that, and you know, not being able to go to Cafe 9 on Tuesdays for that happy hour and sit and hang out with Bill Saunders and yourself and get wrapped up in these incredibly ridiculous yet amazing conversations. You know, it was nice, you know, your syncopation and your delivery. You're like, hey guys, how's everyone doing today? You know, we miss you here at Cafe. I practice
looking out the weather window, it's 54 balmy degrees outside.
But it was so beautiful to see, because it wasn't, you knew it wasn't pretend. Like, the person that we're interviewing right now is the person that when the camera goes off, maybe with a couple extra expletives at some point in time, you know, but you're the same human being, and that person is needed, you know, and that's true.
Yeah. Cog, like, that's cog in the wheel kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you need the whole business, you know. It's the scene, really, you know. We're all a part of a really cool whole.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's the whole
like
thing.
Whole.
It's the whole thing, yeah.
Definitely.
Whole with a W, you know.
With a W, yes.
Yeah.
Hey Frank, I wanted to know.
Yes.
Did you come into New Haven in the 1970s or the 1980s?
I came here around 1991.
1991? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I was a little kid back then. Now, tell me what New Haven was like back then in that early time. Like, how different what it was back then until from now. I know I a little jumbled my words a little bit. I thought.
You know, the faces change, but I think the spirit really sort of remains the same. You know, in the circles that I run in, and probably you guys run in,
right?
It's always looked the same. You know, and there's people who last a really long time, and then there's other people who move away. You know, right. But the spirit has been the same. You know, I don't know. The camaraderie of the artist community has always been, like, in my experience, has always been there, you know. And when I got here, I sought it out. I moved here from Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I was as a street performer, you know. And there was a bunch of us. We'd perform on the street during the day, and we'd play all the open mics at night. And there was one every night of the week. You could play in any club going, you know. And that's what we did there. So when I came here, I immediately sought out, you know, the artist community, and it was there. You know, it was there. And some of the faces changed, but for the most part, the spirit has remained the same.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
It's definitely true. And it's something that, you know, a lot of people don't truly understand. And there's a lot of work into doing that as well. I mean, Preston has been along for the ride on some of the crazy Tuesday nights when there are 2 or 3 open mics that are happening at the same time. And, you know, I had to make sure that I book myself at the right point in time. And I'm like, I would look at Preston and be like, dude, I'm so exhausted. I just want to go home. I don't even want to do this. And he'd grab me by the shoulders. He's like, you're easy Bluez. You've got this. This is who you are. Go back there. And I'm like, okay, I guess. He's like, I will get you an extra shot of Jameson. I was like, I'm in. Let's go. You know.
Dude.
So, but it's work, that's 1, necessary, and 2, very fulfilling, because, you know, although I would leave exhausted, you know, at 12:30, you know, in the morning, it was a good exhaustion. It was that exhaustion that some people feel at the end of a good drywall shift. It's that exhaustion that people feel after they built an incredible table, or after these incredible buildings were built. It's that exhaustion of, yes, I did something today, and that thing is going to last, because I built a little more piece of myself. And I think that's something we need to get back to as artists, you know, as we continue to move forward and evolve.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I see. You know, I see people doing that already all over the place, you know.
Right.
And it's, you know, it feels good to me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. How you feeling, Preston?
I feel excellent, man. I feel good. I feel refreshed. I'm learning so much. Frank, I think you need to give me a whole playlist of all these new independent artists. Well, not new to you, but new to me, about all the stuff that I just learned throughout this whole entire broadcast.
Well, you know, there's a little Facebook site called the Local Bands Show. So if you go to the Local Bands Show on Facebook, you can see that yellow line page, and you can see our playlist every single week. Everybody who hosts a local show in Connecticut does similar sort of things. So if you follow Ann Castellano and Deranged Radio on WCNI, she posts her set list and plays a lot of local music. Or if you listen to Homegrown with Rob DeRosa on WESU, he'll post his playlist before he even plays it. So you can, you know, tune in on purpose to hear, you know, a specific artist that maybe you never heard before, or one that you just want to hear again, or maybe even yourself, you know. But yeah, everybody does similar promotion to let you know what's going on, you know, in the scene. And, you know, that's a good thing.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I was actually checking through the list and also saw a little bit of your Instagram when you and Easy were just chatting up, talking about, you know, musician talk and, you know, back in the day, and just like going through Cafe 9. And it's really interesting. And I thought it was funny how you said you had no selfies, because you were definitely true to your word. You have no selfies in your like, oh, I just wanted to dabble this a little bit. And
like, picture it like, you know, you've seen somebody taking a selfie before, right?
Right.
Yes.
Doesn't it look a little ridiculous?
It looks a little ridiculous.
It looks a little ridiculous.
I like the fact in Instagram, every picture that you have has a point. Everything is dealt with promotion. I love how you promoted the stuff with the local band show with the whole entire. I think it was like it's in my head like the little not chalkboard.
Yellow line.
Yeah,
the yellow line paper. Sure.
Yes,
Well,
that I couldn't
that's
even
how
barely say that.
I know sometimes a lot of people use social media for personal things. You know what I mean?
Right.
I tend to not do that.
That's a good thing.
So, all right, secret. I have sometimes been known if I'm out on a date to take a selfie with my girl, but you're not going to see it. I'm not going to post it because it's for me. I like to look at that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody else needs to look at that. That's not what you want to broadcast necessarily. That's the public view is a little bit different than the private view. You know what I mean? I'm not going to, I'll be dressed when I post a picture of myself. You know what I mean? At some club or something like that. That's just how I do it, I guess.
Right.
I definitely agree, man. Some stuff should just be kept to yourself and to your loved ones. You don't have to put everything that you do in life on public. I totally realized that as I got older, and I think more, especially in this pandemic, a lot of people, or the majority of people now globally, have used social media as a promotional tool, as it should be used. It should be used for those right reasons, just to get you out there, instead of just putting too much of your private life in there.
Right. People do whatever they're going to do, you know what I mean? And I'm totally cool with anybody else making their own decisions about how they use their tools, you know what I mean? But for me, like, enough of me is public. You don't need to see my lunch today. You know what I mean? Like, we've just been talking for. Are you still there?
Yeah,
we've just been talking. We've just been talking for an hour. This is the public part. You know what I mean? But I'm going to have a salad later. You don't need to see it.
But what kind of salad?
It's just lettuce, really. Maybe some chips.
Okay.
All right. Besides the food that you're going to eat after the broadcast, we only have so much little time left. Just before we premiere your song, which Easy has everything about and Harry has.
Thanks, pal.
Please plug all your social media, all the stuff where to find you, and any events you got coming up this year. Go right ahead. The time is yours.
Thank you very much, Preston. I appreciate your time and for talking to me. You guys are really cool. The Bargain is the trio that I play with with Muddy Rivers on guitar and Shandy Lawson on the mandolin. And it's I feel like it's some of the best music that I've been writing in my life. And we have a Bandcamp site, just thebargain.bandcamp.com. frankcritelli.bandcamp.com is my personal Bandcamp page where a lot of my solo stuff is. I put out a couple of singles this year and feel really good about it. So there's the music there. The local band show is every Sunday night at 10 p.m. on WPLR, and that's 99.1 FM. I co-host that show with Rick Allison, who is a wonderful human being and a stalwart in, promoting local music for 34 years on WPLR. Awesome. So you can hear it then, and you can also hear it noon on Mondays on CygnusRadio.com. I also host and work with David Cooley on the Old Church Acoustic Series, and that's at 62 Colony Street in Meriden, Connecticut. You can go to that's old with an E, churchacoustic.com, and see a lot of our past videos and our upcoming show on March 5. I think that might be just about it. You're good.
What music has Frank blessed us with in this program?
The single you sent us, you want to throw to it?
Oh, yeah, sure. What did I send you? Please excuse me. I'm sorry.
Hold on 1 second.
That's okay.
I'm going to my Bandcamp app right now.
It was my fault. I don't know if I sent you something from The Bargain or something from me.
No, it's something from you. Flows Like a River?
Oh, Flows Like a River. Well, this is my big sing-along song. I kind of feel like it's very much in the John Prine wheelhouse, who died just when I was writing it. It's a true story. 1, 2, 3, all three things exactly happened, exactly how I told them, and that's it. Life flows like a river.
Amen.
Frank Critelli, Flows Like a River. Behind the brand, myself, Prestige, and Easy Blue on WNHH LP 103.5 FM, New Haven.
Down the street from me, Waves every time I drive by, and I roll down the window to raise up my hand, and we flash each other the peace sign. And it flows like a river the same way every day, and I look forward to it every time. I hope you have someone like that in your life, who waves to you and makes you feel fine. And the old woman who works in the grocery store, I can tell has the hots for me. She blinks her fake eyelashes slowly and clicks her gum in a seductive way. And it flows like a river the same way every day, and I look forward to it every time. I hope you have someone like that in your life, who winks at you and makes you feel fine. 'Cause it's a long way down the river, and it's a long way home. And I hope you have someone special in your life, who smiles with you and helps you have fun. And the old man in the tall house next door to me walks his old dog every day, and I watch as he walks by my window, and one day I'm gonna say hey. And it flows like a river the same way every day, and I look forward to it every time. I hope you have someone like that in your life to say hey to and make feel fine. 'Cause it's a long way down the river, and it's a long way home. And I hope you have someone special in your life, who smiles with you and helps you have fun. Yes, I hope you have someone special in your life, who smiles with you and helps you have fun.